All right. Um, Bear with me for a moment here. Let me just get everything situated. All right, looks like we're good. So, just gonna be just another stream. I don't think I'm gonna you do an open panel tonight. Um, but if anybody has any questions or comments, they're welcome to ask down below, and I will address those. But it's just gonna be as what's this dude, D. McClung, as he would say, right? A monologue, right? Me talking and you listening. So, first things first, right? I wanted to talk about how well, actually, before I even get into that, yesterday I actually had a conversation with one of the dude that frequently is in our comment boards over here. I believe the cat's name is Day Freak or something like that. We'll just call him Freak. And he's been coming around here ever since the minor charade days, inside joke. But I confronted him. I was like, "Oh, wait a second. Why the hell is this guy on this other random live stream that I hopped on? But this guy never calls into my streams." And again, he's a cool guy. He's always in the comments, putting up comments and whatever. But I told him, "Hey, look, man. I've told the guy this like what 20 times before. Hey, look. If you ever see us live, just click the link, come hop on one day." And the dude never does it. But he's over here on all these other streams, though. So I called him out for it, in a polite way. But he was a pretty cool guy. Um, but we had a conversation about, like as people call soul sleep, right? Like what happens to people when they die, right? What happens to their soul when they die, is what we had a conversation about. And I mean, it was a decent conversation. I mean, the panel got steamrolled on that. I mean, let's just be fair. They weren't really ready to talk about that. And you'll will see it soon. I'm not going to release the video yet. Probably be like 2 or 3 weeks until I release the video. Um, but it's already recorded, right? It was an interesting conversation, I guess we could say. And because somebody would be like, well, "Why not release it now?" Well, I'd like to get a little bit of a backlog of videos. That, say for instance, if I go out of town or for whatever reason it might be, I don't get a chance to record for like a week or so. I'll always have a few videos that are not released yet that I can upload when I can't record, right? So I probably have, as far as debates go, I probably have like 6 or 7 of those already pre-recorded and not released yet. As far as like, breakdowns of scriptures or teaching videos, I got a couple of them in the back that are not publicly uploaded yet. And it's just always a good idea for people out there who are fellow content creators such as myself or teachers to have content you already have made that you leave for a rainy day, I guess we could say, right? Or a time that you can't record for whatever it might be, right? Be feeling sick, might be out of town, might you got, a legal situation going on. Again, it could be anything, but you can't always get around to record on, every other day, so it's just a smart idea to have a few things already pre-recorded that are not uploaded yet. But I'll tell you what, I'll give a little sneak peek though to some people who are listening to the stream. A few of the debates that are already recorded and not uploaded are, discussions about the Trinity. I believe we got an abortion debate as well. Um, oh, like an atheist and agnostic conversation, a conversation that I did with Jamie, aka Babylon. There's a couple other sweet treats that I got coming out in the near future for y'all, but that's just a little sneak peek for everybody. Um, so I wanted to talk about this YouTube channel that I went on the other night. It's called Gen X Jeff is the name of this guy's channel. He might even be live right now as I speak. But this guy, we'll just call him Jeff because that's his name, right? So, oh, and I want to say the meme, but I'll spare everybody from that. Hell, that meme's like what, a decade old now, right? The Jeff meme. But anyway, um, this dude. It's funny because if you go on this guy's page, right, it's the dude with the antlers on, right, with the deer antlers on his head. I was joking around. It's like shit. This dude looks like the elven leader from the Lord of the Rings. If anybody knows what I'm talking about. Again, seriously, right? This dude's all there looking like this elven leader from Lord of the Rings on his live stream. It's hilarious, But I went on there, and this guy is like a authoritarian dictator on his stream, right? The first time I tried to get on, they went through all of the common restrictions that creators make you go by, such as putting your camera on to make sure you're real, putting the overlay on when you go on, and all that. But the funny thing is, he was like, well, we still won't let them on. It's like, well, what the hell else do I have to like show? I mean, do I need to show like my passport or something like that? Like what the hell else do I need to show to prove that I'm a real person to come on to your podcast? Like, I mean, seriously, it's like, you know, you need a damn, piss sample or something. It's like, what the hell do you need me to give in order for you to fact check that I'm a real person and not like some type of bot or something or some type of like, troll? It's like, seriously, it pisses me off sometimes, how retarded some of these people are, some of these, as I call them, authoritarian streamers, because that's what this guy, Jeff, is from what is I got it here so I didn't forget. Right, Gen X Jeff, right, from that channel. Right, that dude's a North Korean dictator. Right, dude may as well change the podcast name to a North Korean streamer or something like that. Right, North Korea open panels or some bullshit like that. Would fit the dude well. And then the one time where I did get on there, and the only way I got on there was because there were two people on there who said they knew me. There was a dude on there named Exiled One, which I've talked to him on stream a couple times before, and then the Freak was there as well. So both of them confirmed I am who I say I am. And the dude was still rude to me when I went up there. Right? I asked him, "Hey man, in all fairness, right? You should before you not don't let people on, you should give them a chance to, show if they're actually, real person or not." And that dude's like, it's my podcast, I can run it how I want. It's like shit, you can run it how you want. I'm not gonna tell you how to run it, but I mean, you should be a little bit more less authoritarian, right? As a prideful American that you claim you are, right? Again, it really pissing me off, people like that. And then it's like, well, who are you again? It's like, you got what, 500 subscribers? And your channel's not shadow banned, by the way. So, who are you again? It's hilarious to me. It's just hilarious. Hey, how are you doing? And that's the other thing I do that a lot of these dudes don't, is I notice a lot of these other panels that people are hopping on, they don't really pay attention to like the comment boards, right? Like shit, I'll give you an example. The other day, I was trying to hop on a stream, don't remember the channel name, but they made us wait 10 minutes to get a link in the comments because nobody was paying attention. And then even when me and another dude, I believe the other cat's name was Isaac, that clicked the link, both of us clicked the link to join, and they made us wait 20 minutes, 25 minutes in the back chat before they would even add us to the stream. And the guy's excuse is, "Oh, well, I'm sorry about that, but I'm new to all this StreamYard stuff." New to all this StreamYard shit. It's like, but dude, aren't you paying the damn $50 a month plan? And aren't you on here, literally setting up all these like, memes and overlays and all these things that I don't even use for StreamYard, but yeah, you're new to it, right? I mean, come on. Which again, I'm impressed to do, but you could tell it's just, a weak ass excuse, for just not paying attention, if you get what I'm saying. But it really pisses me off sometimes, some of the people on this platform, YouTube, some of these streams, especially tonight. Like I'm not even joining another panel tonight, right? Hell, I'm just gonna do my stream, do my show here, and then that's it. I'm not even going to try to jump onto another stream. You want to know why? Well, first and foremost, the main reason is because every other platform on YouTube right now, by 95%, is all up in arms about this whole presidential debate that just took place a couple of hours ago, right? That's what everybody is, all that's the talk of the town right now tonight. Right. So, again, I don't want to, hear what these brain dead zombies out here have to say about that. You know what I'm saying? Because those of us in the know, we understand that, both sides of the party, they're really pushing the agendas of the people behind the scenes, what people commonly call, Illuminati or, New World Order or, things like that. We in the know, those of us who are using our brain, we know that regardless of who gets in, whether Biden stays in again, which certainly doesn't look like it because maybe, what is it, a month ago now, he said he was not going to take office again. But again, if they put him in there, whether they put Kamala, whether they put Trump or a different dude in there, it's still going to be the same agenda that they continue to push, regardless of the puppet that they have in there. And again, like, I don't get how, people can say they are a truther and yet, fail to realize something like that. It's like you don't become the leader of the most powerful nation on earth without being part of their secret club. I mean, that's just not how the world works, right? It doesn't make sense how people on one hand could say, "Oh yeah, well, I agree. The government's corrupt, and there's people, rich, powerful people behind the scenes, pulling the strings to get legislation and restrictions passed." But then they'll turn around and then they'll turn around and talk about how, oh, well, Trump's like, a savior or something. And that's how a lot of people view it, right? I literally know people, like even going back to 2016, right? Like when Trump first got into office, people on there talking about how like Donald Trump is like sent by God as like a savior of America. There were literally people out there like worshiping Donald Trump. Again, it's very bizarre, very bizarre. Hey, how you doing, Eddie? Hope you're doing well, man. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Eddie, corporations run America. Yo, a preacher, I reached out to what's this cat? Praise. And I reached out to him earlier. He sent me an email, so I sent him one back. He said something about the 13th, and I told him I would be available on the 13th to do it, but you'd have to run it by Perry to see his schedule and what he has going on. And Perry, since you're listening, if you cannot do the 13th, then we can rearrange it for the following week. The choice is yours. Just, let him know, and then we can get that situated. Let me see. It's a person on here named MMA Paradise. And he said, brother, I got a question. Free Grace channels say Solomon sinned and worship other gods. Still, he is saved, and God calls Solomon his son. What's your response for these people, brother, end times? Right. Well, the way I would respond to this is we see righteous men in the Bible once in a while do things contradictory to what God says, such as King David. King David, he slept with another man's wife, right? And he also numbered the children of Israel, which God told him not to do. So there were things that David and Solomon did that went against God. In other words, were sin, but they are still considered to be sons of God, right? God still loved them. So it, it's very simple. Like, just because they committed a sin once or twice after they were men after God's own heart, or righteous men, that doesn't now mean that they're not that they're not going to be saved or nothing like that. Now, those men are all, predestinated to be how they are, right? All those men are going to make it to the kingdom when Christ returns and sets up the kingdom. So that would be my response to it. Just because they made one or two mistakes, that doesn't mean that God, cast them away. And again, we see that in the New Testament too, with people who are not even considered to be like kings, or a high stature in society, like the woman in John 8, right? Christ showed her compassion. He told her to go and don't sin anymore. She committed a sin unto death, according to the law, but Christ gave her mercy. He told her to go and don't do it again, right? So again, we see that God can show mercy to who he wants, and that's in was that Romans chapter 9, verse 15. It says, "For God will have compassion on who he'll have compassion, and he'll show mercy to who he decides to show mercy." So again, God could decide to not show mercy to one person, but then another person who does the same thing, he might show them favor, right? It's his choice. It's his choice how he wants to view it. Hell, like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, when you read, uh, pardon the pun, because you might have paid attention to what day it is today, but if you read Romans chapter 9:11, inside joke, Romans 9:11 says, that before the children were even born, before they did any good or evil, God already decided that he chose Jacob above Esau. Then, if you continue to read, it talks about how God loves Jacob and hates Esau, right? But if we read the whole chapter in context, well, it starts talking about Jacob and Esau at verse 11, right? You can start a little above if you want. But we find out that this was before they even did anything good or bad. So again, God, if he wanted, he could have chose to love both of them if he wanted to, but he didn't. As to why he decided that, hell, I don't know. What is it to mortal man to know the mind of God? Inside joke. That's up to him for why he decided to view it that way. Then they followed up with, so once saved, always says is a biblical doctrine. No, that's not true. Well, here's the first misconception, right? Because being saved, nobody is saved right now today, because the Bible says that we're saved at the end times. If you read Matthew chapter 24 and verse 13, it says, "He that endures to the end is the same that shall be saved." Okay, so those men, they're at rest right now, right? Those men are sleeping. Their soul has left the body decayed back to the earth. So their soul is with God. Right, so they're not walking around in heaven, they're just in a state of unconsciousness because they're not alive right now. But then when Christ returns and resurrects the believers, then they're gonna be, physical, body again, if you get what I'm saying. So, no, once saved, always saved is not biblical, it's just a misconception of, what the text says. Because again, nobody's saved right now. Because again, I've shown how the Bible says that you're saved at the end when Christ comes back. And that certainly hasn't happened. The only people that would say that would be like a full preterist or something like that. Hell, for those of us who are smart people, we clearly know that that's not true. I mean, hell, that's a damn joke, right? Full preterism is just a damn joke at this point. Let me see. But yeah, thank you for the question. Right, right. I know what you're talking about, Eddie. I know that Jacob and Esau made up. That's true, but that doesn't change God's view about Jacob and Esau. Right? God said that He was going to destroy the entire nation of Edom. That's like Obadiah. What is that? Obadiah 1:18. Right there would be none remaining of the host of Edom. Again, don't get mad at me because I'm not the one that wrote the Bible. I'm just reading. Hey, have you ever heard of the phrase "Don't stone the messenger"? Right? Oh, this is a good time to use it. Yeah, yeah, you're good. Thank you for the question. Well, voice texted. I didn't even know that you could text use like a voiced comment board if you get what I'm saying. I didn't know you could voice text on YouTube. That man, I've been using this app since since I was a little kid, right? I remember watching like Tom and Jerry cartoons on YouTube, right? And all these years I've been using YouTube, I never knew that you could actually put a comment up by talking. Like, somehow I must have missed that. Man, I'm gonna have to look into that. I don't know if you need like the damn, new iPhone or something like that, or I don't know. But I'll have to look into that, man. I never knew that. Then another one, going back to the authoritarian, panels that are all over YouTube, it seems. One other thing I wanted to talk about is this other dude, Brojo, right? Which I went on this cat, his channel before. But it's really for just laughs, right? A bunch of, as I call them, cane walkers. A bunch of old fools that don't really know anything that's going on. Like a lot of the cats will sit there and talk shit, but then when you challenge them, they fold in half like a card table. It's very pathetic. I was joking. It's like, so you guys in your late 60s, early 70s, like, how do you feel that a 21-year-old came on the stream and completely schooled the entire panel on theology or really anything we brought up? But I mean, and again, no disrespect, but it's like, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? It's that's pathetic right there. But all those dudes really do, and Brojo included. They just sit around all day, sit on their ass, smoke weed, smoke pot, and talk about, sports. Like when I went on there, they were literally talking about Monopoly when I went on there. Right, they were talking about the Monopoly game when I joined the stream, right? Right, so it proves my statement true that all they're doing is sitting around all day talking about literal games and the presidential debate. Oh, they were talking about that too, right? In fact, I believe he's doing a live stream about that tonight. But they were the other day speaking about their predictions for it or whatever, right? But it's just laughable, right? It's just very preposterous. Some of these channels on YouTube, man. They're really entertainment if you think about it. Eddie said, "I have Samsung Galaxy 24." Oh, that's cool, man. Man, I don't even know how many versions they have of these Samsung phones or tablets, man. But one thing I'll say though, as I've always been a fan of using the Samsung products, right? Ever since I was little, I've only had products that are, Samsung related. There's only one exception to that. Is I got a Apple computer, but that's the only exception. Every other device I have is Samsung, and I don't even have the Apple computer anymore. I had that for like maybe 2 years or something like that. There was there's some issues with it, right? So I had to get rid of that. But that's the only Apple product I ever had was a Apple computer, but everything else I have is just Samsung. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. Okay. A lot of our people out here, man, you know, they don't drink a lot of water. That's you can see that everywhere. Everybody out here just drinking a bunch of, juice and shit. But a lot of people, they're not drinking enough water. Like, I literally know people that don't even drink a 12-ounce bottle of water in an entire week. It's like, damn, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, man. It's like, I mean, technically, sure, you get water by drinking soft drinks or, Gatorade is technically water in there, but, pure drinking water, it's very important. Hell, you don't want to get damn kidney stones, but they take years to form, right? They take years for all those minerals to, attach to one another, inside you and form. So, hey, if you're not drinking enough water now, you can always, choose to do it, right? It's never too late. I'm just checking something. Bear with me. Hey, how you doing, Professor Preterist? Hope you're doing well. Yo, you weren't here, but I said I didn't really want to bring anybody up tonight because I'm pretty exhausted. It's more so going to be a monologue, right? Me talking. But I've seen your debate on what's this cat's channel? I believe it's, but what is that channel called? Seeker of Truth or something like that? Oh, Standing for Truth. That's what it is. Standing for Truth is the name of the channel. I saw the debate, which I've only seen an hour of the debate because it's like what, almost 3 hours or something like that. But I've seen the first hour of the conversation is what I was able to watch in my free time. Um, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, man. So far, the other dude, he's in the lead, man. So far, the other dude is winning. But to be fair, I haven't watched a whole debate in entirety, so I mean, I can't, you know, um, can't say a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Care to try and debunk full preterism yet again?" Well, I mean, I've done it multiple times, man. I mean, hell, I've debated Elvin, which is the personal apostle of world famous full preterist Pastor William Bell, and I schooled his ass. I cut him to shreds. So I mean, I've did at least a handful of debates about full preterism, eschatology within the last like 2.5, 3 years, right? Let me check that out real quick. I think you have the wrong verse, preterist. I just took a glance over at the verse you put up in the comments. I don't see what there is. I don't get what that you mean by that verse, man. Like, I know the verse above it, I commonly use verse 26. In fact, when I do the discussion with Perry in a couple days or whatever, I'm certainly going to be using that verse. So I don't know what you mean by verse 27, man. Right? I don't see how that like is for preterism. I don't get that. One thing I've always said is that it's true that when Christ, died and rose again, the apostles on earth, they were looking for it back then. That is true. They thought that Christ was going to return in their time. That is true, but it did not happen. They just had a misunderstanding. And we see that many examples of this in the Bible where the apostles had a misunderstanding about, certain parables that Christ gave, so Christ would, go back into it and give them a little bit of a breakdown so they might be able to understand what he meant by certain parables he gave. So yeah, it's very believable and understandable why they would think that, like the end times would happen like what, 15, 20 years, 30 years after Christ went up, or even sooner than that. It's very understandable why they had that mindset because, he was telling them, oh, well, hey, I'm going to come back and, do such and such. So I don't disagree. They were looking for it back then. That is true. But it didn't happen because they just didn't know the actual timeline, right? So they were just misunderstood. Doesn't mean that they were false apostles or anything like that. It's just that they were misunderstood. I'll give you an example, right? Just as we today, we believe we're in the end times and we're looking for all these things to happen, which we certainly believe it will, but hypothetically, right, for a hypothetical argument, if it didn't happen today, people 500 years from now will look back and say the same thing about us today. Yeah, people then were saying that, they were living in those days and look, it didn't happen. So, why talk about it now in like the 26th century or something like that? Yeah, even verse 37 doesn't prove it, man. Because again, when we read the Bible, it's talking from God's timeline. Like we find out in Second Peter chapter 3, verse 8, for one day with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are as one day. So when the Bible uses like these phrases such as, little while or a short time or comes quickly, it's using it in God's terms as far as like his vision of time. So, say for instance, in God's eyes, Judgment Day is going to happen like what, tomorrow? But on man's eyes, in our terms, we don't know when the hell it's going to happen. It could be a decade or two from now. But God's vision of time is different, right? So, when we see the Bible warn about, a day in the future coming when everybody's going to get judged for their sins and whatever, it's coming soon, right? So, when it gives the warning about it quickly approaching, that's not false, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow, right? And it's speaking from God's aspect of time. And his is clearly different from ours, as I shown in Peter, right? So again, I think a lot of these verses that people try to use for preterism, it's just that they don't really understand the coded language that the Bible is written in. That's what I think a lot of people get mistaken on. Yeah, I don't think so, Eddie. I think you're in error on that one. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Eddie's a good Christian or whatever, but he definitely has some errors, just as everybody does. But hey, to every man, himself, I guess. Well, full preterist. Let me ask you this question. I mean, you don't even have the right to talk about faith in general, because what faith do you have? Because Judgment Day already happened. Jesus already returned. So what the hell do you have to look forward to? Man, this is a serious question, man. Like all jokes aside, it's like You can sit there and talk about, oh, all this and that, but the fact is, by your own belief, you don't have any future because you're in heaven right now. You're in your eternity right now, right? With all the pain and, misfortune and, suffering that everybody's going through in the world, you yourself included. This is your heaven. So, I mean, what the hell do you have to look forward to by your full preterism logic? Because you already have eternity. Well, even though you and all the other full preterists eventually will pass away one day, because that's, unavoidable fact of life, you guys are in heaven right now by your belief. So, I mean, what the hell do you have to have faith for? Because faith was already completed according to you. There's nothing to look forward to because this is already the new kingdom according to you. So, I mean, I don't get that. Like, seriously, I don't get that. He said, my faithfulness is to Christ. But where the hell is Christ at? Because the Bible talks about that Christ would come back and rule over the nations and they would actually see his face, right? We don't see that, man. Like, seriously, let's all jokes aside. If Christ was on the earth ruling right now, why the hell is just earlier tonight Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were in a debate about what one of them's actually gonna like do the best for our country, right? When if they were to win. Wait, shouldn't Christ be the one in charge? Then why the hell are these people in charge then? Again, it just doesn't add up, right? Full preterism does not add up. Once you start lining up all the factors, it just clearly falls flat on its face. Look at this one. Look at this one. He said, "No, I'm not. I'm under the new covenant now. When I die, I go to heaven." Well, brother, the Bible says the kingdom of heaven is on the earth, though. Like when you read Matthew, the what is that? The sixth chapter talks about thy kingdom come, right? Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And then in Revelation, it literally depicts the kingdom coming down to the earth, just as a few examples for you, right? So the kingdom of heaven is on the physical earth in the future. It's not somewhere that you go right when you die. I mean, that's hell, you got that from the Catholic Church, man, right? They believe that, when you die, you go right up to heaven and then you're, looking down on your loved ones up there. And again, you can't tell me they don't because I recently was at a Catholic church for a funeral a couple of months ago. And, the priest they had up there during his, speech and whatever, he was talking about how, oh, they're up in heaven, looking down now. Right. So again, they do believe that, and that's where you're getting that from. Well, yeah, God is in charge. Like say for instance, Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 1, the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord, and as the rivers of water, he'll turn it at his will. But what I'm saying is the Bible clearly depicts how Christ would physically be down on the earth, ruling. And I don't think that's really deniable that the Bible clearly depicts that Christ, like in the flesh, right, in physically, not in a spiritual sense, but in a physical sense, he would actually be down here and would be commanding and ruling over the earth. Like this is clearly in the Bible. And again, you don't see that today. Obviously, it's because it hasn't happened as of today. Like again, it's amazing how, some people, twist themselves into a damn pretzel, to believe these foolish doctrines. Yeah, you're right on that, Eddie. Right. They're actors. Predators, if that's true, Well, then how did John see Christ in Revelation then? If he's like a spirit and doesn't have like a physical form, then how was he able to describe Christ in there? Yeah, this is a good point. I'll read what Eddie said here. Eddie said, what here's what doesn't add up. Perry says all you have to do is believe and that's it. So if you lie, cheat, or steal, it's not considered a sin because you believe so. What would be the point of life and learning if that was true? Right, and that's a really good point, man. That's a good point there. It clearly shows that this dude Perry, that dude, he's lost in the sauce, right? That dude, he doesn't know what the hell is going on. That's all I can say. Dude's kiddie pool deep, right? The dude is shot glass deep, and he needs to hit the gym as well. But shit, I can't lie though, man. I'm not really into exercise. I'm into extra fries, just to be quite honest. But damn, that dude is a 300-pound land whale. His ass needs to hit the gym, man. And that's for real, right? Like all jokes aside. Well, I wasn't. Well, first of all, I wasn't talking about you, Pat. And if you, what's funny, if you um, if you were to look up in the chat, you would see the person I just mentioned, bro. Maybe on your phone you can't scroll all the way up, but the dude I was talking about is literally in the chat. Well, at least he was maybe 20 minutes ago. But yeah, again, I'd be willing to have a debate about, well, full preterism again. I don't turn that down. It's not going to be this week or next week, though, but certainly in the future, I would be open to do that. In fact, I would even do it with professing preterists. I don't have a problem with that. We've had a conversation a couple of times before, and I would gladly do it again. It's not going to be tonight, but in the future, I would do it. I'd do the conversation again because it is a important topic. I think it's a very important topic to talk about because you know what we're teaching is completely opposite from another, right? You're telling people, be content with how everything is right now. We're in eternity right now. We're in the kingdom, right? All the prophecies of the Bible are all fulfilled. So the Bible is just like a historical book, right? It's nothing in it is really left for us now. We're just reading things all from the past. But me, on the other hand, I'm telling people, hey, things in the Bible, as far as prophecies are looking like they're lining up to take place in the world right now, right? And we gotta, keep God's rules because when Christ returns, we're gonna get, that kingdom, right? But you have to, believe and do what he said. So we're on two complete different vibrations here, for lack of better terms, right? We're at two completely different um views. Here, bear with me for a second. Okay. um I'm not sure if I got your email. Hold on a second. Let me. Yo, but here's my email though, right? I put my email in the chat for you down there. You're welcome to contact me there, and in the next maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we might be able to set up a conversation, and talk about it. Well, I'll address this one. Eddie said we need to stop drinking because alcohol puts a lot of weight on you. Um, I understand. As far as like from a biblical standpoint, it wouldn't be considered a sin if you were to drink alcohol, but certainly it wouldn't be a healthy thing to just overindulge in it like Perry Green does, right? Like even Christ drank wine, and matter of fact, wasn't one of the very first miracles that Christ did. He changed water into wine at the wedding, right? So if wine or alcohol was sin, Christ wouldn't have turned the water to wine because that would be sin, right? So again, alcohol is fine to drink, but of course it has to be done in moderation. Just like everything else in life has to be done in moderation. Like I'll give you an example. It's possible to die from drinking too much water at one time. There's literally people that have died from drinking like 3 gallons of water in like an hour. You can look this up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. It's called water intoxication, right? So again, water is good. It's vital for life, right? You can't last 3 days without drinking water. But with that being said, too much of it at one time can severely damage your body and could even lead to death in serious instances. So again, everything got to be taken in moderation. Same thing with food, right? You got to eat, but don't overeat because then you're going to put on some pounds. And we see our friend Perry Green found that out the hard way. Oh, look at that. Praise is live right now, actually. Just got a notification. Let me just check something in the back real quick. Yeah. Yeah, everybody's mind tonight seems to be, all caught up in this presidential debate. You know what I'm saying? So all these other streams on YouTube, it's all about this whole debate that they just had. And again, I don't take part in any of this nonsense, right? Don't go out and vote because first of all, it's not a real vote among the people. It's really a selection by the people behind the scenes who pick and choose who they want to put in power. But they give the people a illusion that they have a choice as to who they want to put up there. But those of us in the know and the truth, we can clearly see through such deception. Yeah, I got a clan mail in the background. Excuse that. Oh, and also a side note for people listening who are in my Discord server, um, because people send me messages in there as well, which I can't always respond to, because I actually don't have the app on my phone here. It's on a different device I have, and I don't always have access to it. So every week or so, I try to go on there so I can, respond to any questions or comments, right? Just regular things people might ask on there, or some of my buddies I got on there too. Um, I try to get on there like every week or two whenever I can. It's just difficult to do because I tried to, set it up on the current device I have, but due to some issues with logging in, it wasn't able to, transfer the information over to this device. So, that's how that situation went. Damn, it's been almost an hour already. Yeah, you're right on that, Eddie. I've seen that. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I've seen that before, man. Hell, there used to be a TV show. Forget the name of the show, but I believe it's called "Sex Sent Me to the ER" or something like that. You can look it up on YouTube, and you'll see exactly the show I'm talking about, right? But some situations like that could send people to the ER, or emergency room. But yo, I gotta say this though. Um, a lot of these TV shows they got today, man, it's like, damn, just a bunch of damn garbage that's on TV today, man. But I remember when I was little, right? We'll say maybe like what, 13, 14 years ago, we'll say. There used to be, decent shows, not only just children's shows on it as well. Some of these what's the word I'm looking for? Like, damn, it's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know what word to use. Entertainment as far as like Wipeout or something, shows like that. Used to be a lot of those back, when I was growing up. But, for the most part, it seems like everything on TV today is a bunch of garbage, man. Which, to be quite fair, I don't really watch TV, but when you go over to people's house, you see they got TV on in the background, so you can see what's going on. Hell, I haven't had cable in let's say, I want to say nearly 10 years haven't had cable. And even when we go to, another person's house that has the cable or a hotel or something, I don't even watch that, because really, cable television is just a thing of the past. There's only a handful of people around today, like older people, right? People that like grew up, with the early TVs, stuff like that. So their whole life they've always, watched television. But for us newer generations that are coming up, such as Z and Alpha, we got YouTube. Well, my generation, we grew up with YouTube quite literally, by the way, if you're born in the early 2000s. But us and the modern generation of kids now, this is really all we know is the internet, right? TV. Who the hell cares about TV? Right? TV, all these cable companies are getting hit hard because nobody's watching that shit anymore. Right? Like, why the hell pay $80, $60 a month or whatever for cable if I can just, stream whatever I want from the internet? And hell, if I did want to watch movies, all I have to do is sign up to HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix, or all these other apps they have available, or subscriptions you could get for these websites, right? You just got to pay once each month, which is usually cheap, like what, under 15 bucks. And they usually have like different plans you can get, that fit your finances. And I was surprised actually because let's talk about StreamYard for a minute, because I recently found out that StreamYard has like multiple different plans that you could use. And for the longest time, I was thinking you could only spend like 20 bucks on it. I thought there was only the free version, which is what I use, and Jay uses the $20 version, right? I thought the $20 one was like the max that you could get, right? I thought it was like one upgrade and then you get like um, every feature that was like restricted, but apparently I was wrong on that. Let me see. Seeing it. Well, what do you mean you seen? Well, let me try something real quick. I'll try this one out. Let's see. Yeah, how you doing, the freak? We just had a conversation yesterday. Hope you're doing well, man. It's funny because a lot of these guys always tune in like late to the streams, I notice, right? Like I know it happens with LOP, it happens to Rudy sometimes as well. Of course, what's that brother? Luke, right? Brother from Australia. Um, it's funny because he that brother always tunes in late, but it's due to the time zone, right? He's like in a complete different time zone. Believe it's like the middle of the afternoon over where he's at. Right, that brother's over in Australia. You just finished. I mean, I'm going to go a little bit longer. Right, I didn't plan for like a whole damn what's this guy? Just like this dude, Gen X, Jeff does like 7 hour streams. I didn't plan for damn 7 hour stream tonight, but you know, good hour or so. Well, yeah, man, yeah, Eddie. Beating Perry in a debate is that's I can do that with my eyes closed, right? Like I'm not really concerned about I'm not really concerned about it, right? I've already done it 15 times before, but I will gladly do it for Praise's audience to view as well. It's very simple. Yeah, you know who we're talking about, freak. We're talking about Harry the Preacher, aka Day Damn Devil Demon. Damn Devil Demon. I'll read the brother's comment. He said, battling I almost thought he said bathing. Says Perry's a lot simpler than you think because he says that you can't send I believe he meant to say you can't say that Jesus paid for it. You just ask him, do you lie? Do you have lust? Do you sin? Yeah, well, I was thinking of a whole nother way um, to easily show that he has a clear misunderstanding. Because, say, for instance, with First John 1:8, when it says, if we say we have no sin, we're a liar and we deceive ourselves, I can prove that's talking about in like the day to day stance. It's not past tense because that's what he says. Perry says that well, did at some point sin, but I don't anymore. But you can easily prove it's actually talking about like a modern tense, right? It's talking about like day to day. And how can you show that? Very simply, because it says sin, not sinned. And let me give you an example of past tense, right? If you read First John 1:8, that's present tense. But if you read Romans chapter 3, verse 23, which says, for all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Oh, wait, it says sinned, which means it happened already in the past. But First John 1:8 uses the word sin, not sinned. So clearly, First John 1:8 is in the present tense, but Romans 3:23 is in past tense because of the abbreviation of the word sin used. If it's sinned, that means it already happened. If it says sin, that clearly implies, modern context, right? Like it could happen tomorrow, or it could happen today. So that's one way you could easily cut them. I'll check out the verse. Yeah, that's a good one. That Romans, what is that? The scripture he put up, Luke 4:4. That's a good one. Right. But again, this dude, again, it's very childish. It's really funny if you think about it. Yeah, there you go. They put it up in the comments, right? Luke 4:4. It says, "And Christ answered him, saying, It is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God." Right. That's a good point. The whole tell you, oh, once you're in sweet Jesus, that means, well, that's it for you. Yeah, yeah, you're right. He is a cherry picker. Shit, I want to use a whole bunch of other terms for the dude, but we'll just keep it child friendly. But he's definitely a hell of a character, for lack of better terms. Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Eddie. Nah, nah. Hey, now you lost me on that one, man. Right now I think you fell off the deep end on that statement. I mean, shit, you may as well say Aleister Crowley is saved too, then. Man, you gotta be having a smoke. Maybe your brother, Brojo, right? That sucker might have sent this dude a damn drug pack or something. Right, this brother is having a strong smoke right now. I mean, damn. Hey, as they say, man, a broken clock is right twice a day, and that's day freak, right? Day freak is that broken clock. Inside joke, just messing around with you. But yeah, man, that's nah, it's not so. Well, somebody asked about that saved thing earlier, which again, you just showed up, so you didn't get to watch it, but I already addressed about the saved. I already addressed that. I believe in the first like 10 minutes of the stream, somebody asked that. You can go back and listen. Just grab some water. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I am talking about Day Damn Devil Perry Green, and he's a fake Christian. He's not a real Christian. Just like these Catholics, they use the word Christian, but that doesn't actually mean that they really are a Christian. Because, like, say for instance, there's 2,600,000,000 people in the world who claim that they are Christian. Obviously, all those people are not so. Just because you say you're qualified by a word, that doesn't mean you are, because the Bible says that there are fake Christians, right? The Bible says don't believe everybody that claims to be a believer, right? Because some people are using Christ for their own gain, like a lot of these pastors, right? Like, I'll give you an example, man. Like, I remember going to these churches, and they were always trying to sell like Dave Ramsey's newest financial, book, pamphlet or something like that for $100. Again, all these churches are always into scams and shit. That's what's going on, man. You constantly, every other week, you hear a new story about a pastor that was, using the church's fund for his like luxury vacations, and a new luxury car or something like that. It's pathetic. Like, I'll give you an example. I used to go to a church that had like a whole bank account set up. That because they had like multiple different locations of their church, right? That went by the same name, and same teachings, and they all had like a bank they were connected to, and they had 300,000 in that bank. And where did all that money come from? Well, obviously, it came from the people giving tithes, right? The thousands of people they had in congregation among all the different locations, constantly sending in those tithes over the months and months. That adds up, man. Right, so that church had 300 grand inside of the account, and don't ask me how I know it, because that's a story for another time, but I seen it, right? They have 300 grand inside of their bank account that they, got from the people. Shit, and that's a little church, right? That's a little church, so you can only imagine, like Joel Osteen's church, Creflo Dollar's church, some of these, TD Jakes, right? TD snakes, as we call them, just as a handful of examples. You watch Trump troll debate? Nah, man. I didn't watch the presidential debate. 'Cause, again, I've been talking about this earlier that everybody tonight is just really focused on that. That's what everybody's putting their focus in on. Is watching the debate. But again, it's the same garbage every 4 years or whatever. When there's a new election, they all these politicians get on there, say they're gonna do shit, but then when they get in office, they don't. They clearly don't fulfill the promises they make to the people. Again, it happens year after year after year, or I should say, election after election after election. It doesn't change. And even if they get in office and do one thing out of the 50 they tell people they're going to do, that doesn't mean they fulfilled the promise. You get what I'm saying? It's hilarious. Right, you're right, Eddie. Yeah, it's only for entertainment, right. Hell, like I know some of these other, as they call themselves, conspiracy dudes were watching the presidential debate. I think Jaron was watching the debate with a Silver Rain Soul Fully Chained Mind as one of the guests on there. I believe they were watching the debate or talking about it. Shit, I know. What's this guy? Silver Rain, Fully Chained Mind. He was talking about it just yesterday because I saw he was live. Just talking about Donald Trump yesterday and about the debate. Well, just because someone has a golden heart, that doesn't mean that they're gonna get to heaven, brother. Like you do know that there are some atheists out there who will give you the shirt off their back. Hell, there are some Satanists out there who will give a homeless man more money than a Christian will. So does that mean since they have a golden heart, they're gonna go to heaven? No, it doesn't mean that. So again, just because somebody claims they believe, that doesn't mean that they're now going to heaven. Like again, I think you're a cool guy, man, but you gotta your brain's still infected with that brainwashed Christianity, man. And that's a damn shame because you watch my panel. So, I'm not sure what keeps you indoctrinated to believe these churches, man. Hey, if Minor Zareg was still around, man, he would be ashamed of that, right? But we saw where he's at now, right? We saw, that he fell off. But I'm just telling you, man, if he was still around, he wouldn't speak highly of you. Right. Notice, I can be friendly and still, joke around and, be friends with you. But, if he was still around, man, he would call you an actor, right? He would say that you're on the left hand side. Inside joke. Sure, he takes things a little bit more seriously than I would. But yeah, man, it's you gotta see through some of that stuff, man. Right? Not everything is as it seems. You can't just believe something because you're told. You gotta look a little bit deeper than that, bro. I'm not saying that only to him, for everybody in general. I put up a quote by Mark. What's this guy? Mark Twain. Am I saying that right? Said, "Never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference." I mean, yeah, I can see that. Right, you're right, Eddie. He said, you can't be a president and a Christian because they're all part of the evil elites. Right, exactly. All these presidents, they all have to take part in, the elites circle behind the scenes. Like, again, I'll say it again, you don't become the president of the most powerful nation in the world without being part of the secret elite. Like, I mean, again, if people can't see that, they're just dumb. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, again, you may as well not believe in any conspiracies then if you think that a person can become president of America with, like, just without being part of the elite behind the scenes. I mean, that's foolish. I mean, it's childish to think like that. It's just not how things work. Like, I would argue that any country in the world, they have, like, say, let's put it this way, right? Every country in the world has the poor and a rich population, right? So in every culture or every nation on earth, there are secret societies set up that rule that empire and oppress the people. So they got to get puppets in there, right? That are going to do what they want. It's not just one guy wakes up in the public one day and says, you know what, I'm going to become president of such and such country and try to do good for my fellow people. And then he gets a lot of votes and gets in there just by chance. It's like, it doesn't happen that way. I mean, it's very clear. There's people behind the scenes that, play a part in this. Yeah, yeah. Fully chained. Yeah, yeah. The cat calls himself Unchained Mind. His ass is chained, right? His mind is chained, right? I mean, again, it's a damn embarrassment, some of these people. And he's a good example of that, right? Silver Rain Soul is a good example. Brojo's a good example. Jeff, he's a good example, right? Of, people who think that they know a little something, but you can easily, prove them wrong. It's as easy as knocking over a damn line of dominoes, if any of y'all ever played that as a kid. Right? Again, it seriously is. It's as easy as knocking over a damn line of dominoes. That's how easy it is to refute some of these idiots on YouTube. Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Right. A good heart and faith do go a long way. But that good heart, that would imply, living by what God says, right? In your actions. That goes a long way. The Bible says that we're going to be able to escape by our faith and by our works. That's in Second Ezra chapter 9 and verse 7. It says, those that shall be accounted worthy to escape, both by their faith and by their works. So it's not just about works, it's also not just about faith. You have to have both of those things. You're not going to get to heaven with just one without the other. And this is made very clear in the Bible that we have to, for one, believe, right? That's what the faith is. And then two, we got to be faithful to him and do what he said. Hey, what is that? Um, John 14:15. If you love me, keep the commandments. He didn't say, hey, if you love me, go rob people. That's not what he said. Hey, if you love me, go beat people up. That's not what he said. He said, keep the commandments. So, a lot of people are just mistaken. Nah, he Trump's part of them too, man. Right? Trump's not like some type of holy Christian set up by God to save America. I mean, again, if that was what floats your boat, you believe that, man. But I think that's stupid to think that way. I think any truther that thinks like that is just delusional. But again, hey, if you want to believe that, you're welcome to believe that. I don't got a problem with that. I think it's stupid, but hey, you can believe what you want. Eddie said, Sam Shimon, you ever listen to him? Yeah, I know about Sam Shimon. I've seen a few of his conversations before. There's a few things he says I actually agree with, but overall he's wrong. But going back to the statement I said about freak a few minutes ago, right? A broken clock is right twice a day. So hey, in this instance, that broken clock is Sam Shimon. He's wrong about a lot, but he also says a few things right as well, right? And that's how a lot of people are actually. They can say some things right and get some things wrong. Hell, like I used to watch this guy on YouTube called D. McClung. He didn't get a whole lot of views, but he used to do monologues, which is kind of like what I'm doing now, me talking and you listening. He would say one of his statements that stuck with me is he would say he was right until he was wrong, right? He was right until he was wrong. And that's how a lot of people are, right? They might be right about a lot they say, but then they can go off on some things they say. Like a good example would be Captain Tazariak, Deacon Hakah, Apostle Dahar, um, Chief Priest Alazar, quote unquote. Um, even Nathaniel. All these people say a lot of things that are true, but then they also say things that are wrong. So it's up for us to be able to look at what they say and take it with a grain of salt. Don't just um, throw out what they say. Take the information and look into it. Because sometimes you'll find out it has some truth to it. Sometimes you'll find out it might not be true. He said, yeah, I call him Mr. Unclean. I mean, hey, that might be true, right? That might be true. Maybe he does view like that, right? Maybe he is viewing it that way. I mean, hell, I can't tell. It's funny. So earlier today, somebody got mad about apparently YouTube like removed their comments or something. So they thought that like I didn't want to respond to them or something like that because I took like a day to do it. But then when I went to see the comments, they're all gone. So it's like here's what had happened, right? So there was a comment there which had 20 responses. So I click on the response button to see all the comments, and only like 8 comments pop up. Say, what, 8 comments? What the hell happened to the other 12 comments? And they're nowhere to be found. So either the person deleted the comments, which doesn't seem likely because they complained about how they weren't there. So the only other explanation is YouTube removed them, which is always, aggravating and annoying, because, again, I've seen this all over the place that, people get mad and try to say, oh, well, this guy or that guy, took the comments down. It's like, well, no, as a content creator myself, a lot of these guys are not taking the comments down. It's actually YouTube removes some comments because maybe you said a trigger word that they didn't like, or maybe it was harmful, or maybe they just decided to delete it because it went against the agenda. I mean, hell, I don't know. It could have been one of those things. You still got my email? Yes, I do still have your email. In fact, I actually seen it yesterday because I had to go through my Gmail account and I had to unsubscribe from some stuff and, delete some spam mail. You know what I'm saying? It was telling me, hey, well, your inbox is full. You need to act and delete some stuff by such and such day. I was like, oh shit, how the hell, how the hell can mine be full? I literally know people. Like, listen here. All jokes aside, I'm not even exaggerating this. I literally know somebody that has 370,000 unread messages on Gmail. And when I say messages, that includes everything from, like, if you subscribe to a business, they'll send you like coupons or send you messages. Websites will like send you a notice about something. Again, all of that combined, over 350,000. Right. Again, this was months ago. I've seen this. So Shit, it might have went up another 20,000 by now. I don't even know. But it was over 350,000 unresponded Gmail messages. But yet somehow mine is overflowing when it only has like what 500. I mean, son doesn't that doesn't add up, right? That doesn't add up. But we get a lot of people are just lazy. It's like shit, I don't like to see the notification bell there that I just got a couple new messages. I like to address it right away, but hey, you can't always do it. The only ones I get to quickly are like, people send me, like questions, right? Or, invites for a stream or something like that. I get back to within the first 24 hours. But when it's like a business coupon or, a notification from a website I haven't used in 2 years or, stuff like that, it can wait a while. So I guess it just depends on the circumstance. What do you mean chats? Yeah, like if you're talking about what I was just referring to, I'm talking about like people might send invites for like streams, right? Like live stream and stuff like that, or want to bring me on for a interview or discussion. I just got a notification from the channel Tyler Oliveira. Its videos are called "Inside the Ohio Town Invaded by Cat-Eating Haitians." Man, that's gonna have to check that out in a little bit. Shit, before you know it, people are going to be over in the United States setting up damn, butcher shops where they're cooking up damn household pets, right? Like birds, dogs, cats, gerbils, shit like that. Again, I can see it happening in the near future. Hell, I read this one book, I believe it's called Surviving the Economic Collapse, and it was written about the 2001 financial collapse of Argentina. In fact, the dude actually is a YouTuber, like a survival YouTuber, who made the book. Forget the cat's channel name, but I am subscribed to him. But I was reading in his book, and he described, again, this is actually a person who lived through this, right? The collapse of a country, the economic depression. He lived through this and wrote about his experience. So this is not like some type of like fictional book that an author just read up as he's sitting at home. No, this is the guy who had the experience of living through it, and he wrote about how when you go to these meat markets and shit to get supplies, people were cooking up damn household pets and stuff like that, because of how bad the economic situation is and about, how scarce some materials, and food can be at times. But that's an interesting book. If anybody wants to pick that up, you can find it on Amazon. And has like a nuke on the front of the video and a guy standing on the roof. And it's called Surviving the Economic Collapse, 2001 Argentina. Type that in and you'll find the exact book I'm talking about. In fact, I'm reading it for the second time now, which shows how good it is because typically I will only read a book one time and not really read it again. With, of course, the exception of the scriptures, but just any other random book. Hell, I have some books on my bookshelf that I bought, and I didn't even make it through the first two chapters of the book. But hell, even with that being the case, I'm well ahead of the average American because the fact is, like, what, 75 to 80% of Americans have not even read one book in the last 12 months. I think that's an understatement. I think it's much more like 80% of Americans haven't even read one book in the last 5 years. Because again, nobody really likes reading. right? Nobody likes to read, it seems like, by vast majority. Hmm. All right, bear with me for a moment. I gotta go on mute for a minute. All right, I apologize about that. I just had to handle something real quick. So let me see. Here's another thing I can talk about for a minute here is, I mentioned before about, the authoritarian, stuff like that. And, a lot of people don't seem to realize that the United States is also fits the qualifications of a authoritarian country. Now, of course, to be clear, there are other countries on earth that are more restricted than the United States, of course, such as North Korea. But that doesn't now mean that America is like some type of peaches and cream, freedom-loving nation. Like to pretend that is just an asinine, fool. You got to be to believe that. You got to be a peon. First of all, I'd like to ask, well, how can you Americans live in a free country if you have to get your government's permission to even leave your country? Like again, you have to get a passport, written permission by the authorities to leave the country. So that shows that they believe that they own you, right? They think they own you. And that's not a free country. That's a authoritarian dictatorship. Another one, you know what I find funny? People sit there and talk about, oh, God's law, keep a couple of them, but um, you don't really have to, you know, keep them, right? You don't really have to keep the rules, right? Yeah, Jesus did away with all that. It's not something important we got to live by now. But then the funny part is those same people, they would take pride in being a law-abiding citizen, right? They take pride in obeying whatever their master, being the US government, makes up and indoctrinates them to believe in. And anybody caught even breaking the very least of their commandments will be severely punished, right? The punishment can vary. You might get locked in prison for a couple of years. You could even get killed. You might get a lot of money stolen from you. You might get your property, your house taken from you. Again, whatever they decide to do is what they do to you. But again, people get up in arms if they find out somebody broke even very the least of the US politicians' commandments. So again, it shows that people worship their government. People believe in a authoritarian power over them, being the US government. That's what people believe. Such as this dumbass in my comment section named Rebuke and Reprove, Jill. This dummy's told me that the World War II Germans, you know, um, If you hid a person away from them, you are in sin against God, because a true Christian would give them up to the Germans because they were the authorities and they were looking for, certain nationalities of people, which you know what I'm talking about, but I have to use coded language on YouTube because this is, an anti freedom of speech platform. But you can read between the lines and put the code together to know the event I'm talking about, right? Such as Anne Frank and her family is a good example of that. But this knucklehead told me that those people they're the authorities, so we should all obey them. Hell, you know what? I'm convinced that if Joe lived in the 40s, he would be a German soldier. I kid you not. If this guy Jill lived in the 40s in Germany, he would be one of the most obedient soldiers among the German army. I kid you not. I mean, I'm dead serious with that statement. This guy is all about his obedience and his love of government. You can ask him yourself, right? So this dummy in the comment board, and by the way, Jill, this is a live stream. Dummy's fault. Dummy said, "I thought this was live." Well, dude, it is live. It's like you can't see the big red button that says live on the video. Like, say for instance, Jill, and I don't mean to be mean to you, but I'm just saying you do realize when a video is pre-recorded, the red button says premiere. But when it's live, like me talking in real time, it will say live. And the way you determine if one is a live stream or a pre-recorded video is you just got to look at the red button. It will either say premiere, meaning that this was already recorded in the past, or it will say live, which means it's me talking in real time, right? Like right this moment. So again, I don't get that. I don't get how that's like so difficult, to see. But hey, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, again, I think it's very bizarre though, because the average American, they take pride in being obedient servants to their government. But yet they'll all fly that red, white, and blue on July 4th and celebrate the freedoms they have in America. But then the next moment they'll be like, well, I am a law abiding citizen. Really, what they're saying is, hey, look, I believe in the God called government. Whatever they tell me, I obey them like a good servant. Well, how the hell can you be free if you take pride in being a obedient servant to a ruling class? Like again, that logically makes no sense. But like this would be as retarded as a North Korean person saying, "Well, bless my country, and I appreciate my liberties." And then somebody else will point out, "Well, wait, what liberties? I mean, you're rolled over by a dictator." But it's like, aren't you Americans the same way? You are ruled over by a group of dictators. Sure, there's a couple more people involved over here, but that doesn't change the fact that their mere opinions and views on things can alter your life. Like again, a politician can make up a law on anything they want, and you will be forced by violence to obey anything they say. That is a authoritarian country, and the United States fits the category. So again, you could be like Jill and cry like a little bitch that I'm talking shit about America, or you can grow some fucking balls and deal with the fact that you live in a authoritarian country. And excuse my language, but I'm a little pissed off. And I got every right to be, because you got monkey brained, white peons like this. I'm not even gonna say what I want to say, but this monkey brain in the chat, bird brain. I think that's a good word to put it, right? Jill is a bird brain, right? Jill is brain dead, and I mean that with all due respect. But metaphorically, that brother, he needs to lay off some of the drugs that he's smoking, right? That brother needs to lay off some drugs because he's a little bit too high to be teaching on YouTube, at least in my humble opinion. Let me see. Another thing I want to talk about for a couple minutes is this whole thing in Ukraine, right? How, Americans sit there and be like, oh, such a terrible thing. And specifically, I'm talking about the people involved with the Congress and U.S. government here for a moment. We can let the citizens sit to the side here. But, America be like, oh, this is such a terrible thing. How can the Russians, invade a sovereign nation and, take this territory for themselves? Like, I remember at the start of the war, first couple of months, they annexed 4 territories from Ukraine. I don't know the names off the top of the head, but you can look it up, right? It's very easy to find on Google. But what that means is they now consider it to be part of their territory, right? So on the 2024 maps, the territory that they took over during the invasion is now considered Russian territory. So the new maps that are made from here on out will include those parts of Ukraine as being part of the, Russia now. That's their territory. So the US can sit there and talk shit if they want, but they really have no right to do it because America was founded off of the rape, robbery, and the murder of the people who lived in this nation. Well, before it was founded as the United States, the people were still living here. They called this their home, right? The Native Americans, which are Israelites, by the way, they were living over here, right? And then the Europeans came over and conquered this land. And over the course of some time, took it completely over and turned it into what we know today as modern America. But the point of the matter is the US government doesn't have a right to say anything about the Russian corporation and, nation for what they're doing over there because America in its violent history did the exact same thing. They came to a area where people were peacefully living and they forcibly invaded and dominated the people and captured their land as their own. So again, America has no right to tell the Russians they can't do the same thing. And so what if Ukraine claims it's their land? If a new person rolls along and takes the land for themselves, who the hell's going to stop them? Hey, the land isn't alive. The land's not saying I'm Ukrainian. And for the record, I'm not taking any side here. It is what it is, right? Hell, if Putin stopped the war tomorrow, then hey, I'll sit here and say, hey, well, that's what happened, right? But I'm just saying, using logic and reasoning here, it doesn't logically make sense on how the U.S. government can play like this such moral argument and try to, stop the conflict when they themselves, their own country was founded very similar to what's going on over there, right? Peaceful people got attacked and taken over. That's how America was founded in its history. And nobody can tell me I'm wrong on that. And if you do, you got to take a basic American history class and you'll find that out. And a whole other thing I want to talk about. I remember I was out somewhere maybe 2 years ago, and I was overhearing a conversation between two people, and they were talking about how because at the time there was a talk about how they want to remove the American slavery from out of the school textbooks, right? They want to remove the slavery of the black Native Americans out of the out of the book, right? The slavery of the African Americans and the Native Americans. They want to remove that out of the history books so little children then don't get taught that about their history. And these people were sitting there talking about, yeah, I think they should, remove that from out of the school textbooks. I don't want my kid to be taught that. So again, it shows these people they don't mind the history of other countries being taught when it's violent, but when their own country and its history gets taught, then they want to, bitch and complain about it. Again, I think it's very pathetic and laughable, but I guess that's just my opinion. Let me see here. Okay, hour and 40 minutes now. Okay, I think I'm gonna end the stream with that. We're nearly at 2 hours here. So I think I'm gonna end the stream a little bit earlier here, and we'll call that the show for tonight.